Will Melo fit in Houston? How can D'Antoni adjust his lineups? Do they have a chance to beat the Warriors? The only question left is, say it with me, you win? Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown Podcast. It's been a little bit of a time while I've been out of town and on vacation, but I'm glad to be back with all of you guys to talk the NBA. And today we have an exciting show for you. We're going to talk about the Houston Rockets and what it means to have Carmelo Anthony on the team, just signed, and no one better to come on than Curtlow, who's a writer for House of Houston and also is a very frequent caller into the Sirius XM NBA radio. When you turn on the thing, you'll definitely hear him calling in to talk to Termini and Eddie Johnson. So, Curtlow, thanks for joining us. Great to hear you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Coach.
All right. Well, listen, we don't need to mince words here. Let's break down the Rockets, what's going on. They just signed Melo a couple days ago. I'm knee-deep in working into a video that I'm going to finish, hopefully, as soon as we're done with this. What are your initial thoughts about bringing Melo in?
Oh, my initial thoughts is like you bringing somebody that just single-handedly destructed the OKC Thunder from the win column and everything else. You know, I look at people look at Melo and they think about, man, he's a 26-year-old Melo, he's Olympic Melo. No, man, this is a 34-year-old Melo that was a light on offense, and he's definitely a liability on defense. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And he's always been an inefficient shooter, and every time you look at it, if you look at his player efficiency rate, it keeps dropping every 5 years, and it's not dropping by a tenth or point or whatever it is. It's dropping by points. You know what I'm saying? Last year it dropped 5 points. Yeah. So Melo is on his way down. If he doesn't recognize that he needs to come off the bench, then it's time to release him as soon as possible, because he's only there on a minimum contract. Well, you know what I'm saying? You don't want this guy in your disease. You don't want this guy over there affecting your 65 win season last year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to throw this out there. The Thunder were ranked 10th overall on defense, with a guy like Carmelo Anthony playing 78 games and playing a little over 32 minutes a game. So there must be ways where they were able to hide him a little bit, wouldn't you say?
I say always the less minutes for Melo is the best right now for his career. Everybody will be rubbernecking looking at that 35.7% from three that he shot last year, but they're not. But people don't forget, 22% of his shots last year came from the mid-range shot. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And he only shot 38% from there. All right, that's horrible. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The Thunder tried to turn him to a spot-up three-point shooter. You know what I'm saying? And he refused to play that role. Again, we had this conversation last year, I believe, Coach. But what I told you, said if he comes to the Rockets again, he got to accept the roles. You know what I'm saying? Because just like if you coaching somebody, Coach, and you got one person over there acting up, doing what he wants to do, what are you going to do to that guy? You're going to bench him, right? You know what I'm saying? And this is the effect we having. See, we're not looking at a superstar no more. We're looking at a guy that's on a minimum contract. Remember that, folks.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, here's the key. I always felt that was because his defense really is not good, and it's never really been good ever. The only way you can afford to have him on the floor is when he's giving you, Hall of Fame production on the offensive end, which is what he had been giving, teams for a lot of years. But I would agree with you that if he's going to give him, 15 points a game in 30 minutes per night, that's not going to cut it for a team like the Rockets. I will say this, as far as playing a role, if you do, and I'm showing this in the video, if you track the amount of ISOs he's done the last, 2 years in New York versus last year in the OKC, he actually did cut them down like 5% of the time. So he went from, let me see if I get my thing out real quick. He was at 23.7% of his possessions were ISOs in 15-16, and it's down to 18, replaced by spot-ups. So there seems to me some recognition over the last year or so that he needs to spot up more and really get rid of a lot of those ISOs.
This is the thing, man. See, people looked at the Houston Rockets like they were the James Harden, Chris Paul, they were ISOing every time. Well, that's because they're elite offensive players. Pick a roll on, they can shoot the ball from three around the 38, 37, 30, 40% range. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And they can get to the lane at ease. You know what I'm saying? Get to the rim at ease. And you're looking at a Melo when he ISOs, he's shooting a mid range. He's shooting 20% of his shots are coming from the mid range. I want to put this stat in perspective, Coach, because only the Indiana Pacers was ranked first in the mid range. And if people don't know what the mid range is, it's 16 feet to the 3-point line. All right, which every team is eliminated now. They're telling them, hey, take a step back, man. Take that 3-pointer. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And Melo's refusing to do that. And what I'm trying to say specifically for that stat is the Indiana Pacers ranked first in mid-range, and they had 19.1% of their possessions that way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So Melo's game, the mid-range is becoming obsolete in the NBA now, whether he wants to adapt to it or not. He need to get with the program or ship out. You know what I'm saying? I think he should be in China. That's just my opinion.
Whoa. Well, here's the thing that's interesting is that, the Rockets certainly are trying to avoid the mid-range shots, but they bring in CP3, who, didn't necessarily change. He shot more threes, but he certainly took his share of that mid-range shot. And you know what?
Because he made them.
He nailed them, right?
He made them.
Yeah. Right. And so that's the difference here is could you have a lineup that had both CP3 and Melo together that like to take the mid-range? Even if Melo was hitting more of a percentage of them, Daryl Morey would have his brain would explode, I would imagine, if they're taking too many of those twos.
This is the thing. The only and Houston ranked last in that mid range at shooting attempt. They only did 4.4% of those. All right, that's all their offense was 4.4. You know what I'm saying? Percent. So, you know what I'm saying? You're telling somebody 22 that shot 22% of those mid-range, percent of their mid-range, and telling him to not, you know what, don't shoot 20% of those shots of yours. That's ridiculous, man. He's going to do it. You know what I'm saying? This man hasn't changed. Let's think about this, man. He said he just told everybody he wasn't coming off the bench last year, and he made some statement to Jamel Hill that he wasn't coming off the bench this year. You know what I'm saying? We beating around the bush. We acting like his biggest problem, he want to blame everybody else for his problems. You know what I'm saying? Blame it. Look in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about you don't fit in OKC. Maybe you just didn't want to change your game to fit the better of the team for the win success. You know what I'm saying? So we're looking at this guy like, hey, well, he's just going to a different team. He's been in 3 teams in 1 year, one summer. You know what I'm saying? Last summer he was on the Knicks. You know what I'm saying? So what are we talking about here?
So the key here is, can you teach an old dog new tricks? Because Melo, instead of having to take that shot fake and one dribble pull up from 18 or 19 or 20, would need to sidestep and stay behind the three. But I just don't see. I mean, we get those glimpses of Melo working out in the summers, and I don't certainly see that working out. And I think that the point that you made, though, is even more important, is that with the fact that Harden and CP3 take so many ISOs on their own anyway, there simply won't be that many chances for an ISO anyway.
Exactly. You get it, Coach. You know what I'm saying? You can't think about it. You know what I'm saying? And we're not even talking about the defense end. You know what I'm saying? Could you imagine a backcourt of James Harden and Melo on defense? You know what I'm saying? Harden already don't put 100% on defense because, I understand he got to put 100% on offense because he is the offense in the Rockets. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Chris Paul's helping him out. Thank Jesus. But, let's be real. You're putting Melo, who was effective field goal percentage. That's something that calculates the 2-point percentage and the 3-point percentage and equals them out. You know what I'm saying? Melo was worse than Russell Westbrook last year. You know what I'm saying? He was like 15th or 16th on the team last year when it comes to being effective shooting the ball. You got to be effective shooting the ball. You're not going to last in the NBA. Just with Melo. Melo was, he was on the breast of it. He was never in the great, but he was never bad. You know what I'm saying? He was in the middle of that. But now, ever since he's done hit that 34 years of age, that's decline. All them injuries is caught up to him. You know what I'm saying? So it's something that he's got to deal with. He's got, like I said, Coach, he's got to be the guy that looks in the mirror and says, you know what, I need to change. I need to do what my coach says to do so I can win games.
Not only does Melo have to look in the mirror, but he also might need to look into the retinal camera for a better contact lens prescription to help him shoot better. But why waste time going to the doctor's office when you can order them with an incredible app from Simple Contacts? A convenient way to reorder your contact lenses that will save you money. When my wife runs out of her contacts, it's normally a nightmare to renew her prescription, and sometimes she's forced to wear her old ones for days until she finds the time to go out and pick them up. With Simple Contacts, they bring the doctor to you. You can take a vision test at home in under 5 minutes, then a real doctor reviews your test and writes you a new prescription. This isn't a replacement for your periodic full eye health exam, but it's the next best thing. Simple Contacts offers every brand of lenses, and their prices are unbeatable, and shipping is free. But my listeners also get $30 off their first Simple Contacts order with code CoachNick20. So, to save $30 on your lenses, just go to simplecontacts.com/CoachNick20 or enter the code CoachNick20 at checkout. Again, that's simplecontacts.com/CoachNick20 or enter my code CoachNick20 at checkout. Well, it's strange that I feel like I am actually defending Melo because I've been brutal on him for the last several years, if not his whole career. However, there's some things out there that I've been looking at as I'm digging through. And one thing was, there's a quote from him that was complaining about, basically, it sounded like he was trying to maybe call out Russ and whoever else for not being accurate in their passing to him for three. And I went through and watched, 50 or 60 of his misses from the three-point line to try and figure out, it must be like shot selection. But I got to tell you, he got a lot of just really good open look spot ups from three that he missed. But there does seem to be a little bit of a pattern where the ball is thrown a little bit to his left or kind of behind him. He's got to reach down to pick it up. And he acknowledged that in a quote, and I totally get it, that will affect your percentage. Well, without question, any pass he's going to get from CP3 is going to be infinitely more accurate than anything he caught in OKC. And I would argue the same with Harden, who's also a very accurate passer.
Come on, man. Let's be real. Coach, I respect everything you just said right there. But Russell Westbrook led the league in assists per game last year. Are we kidding ourselves? You know what I'm saying? You just didn't want to adapt to the game. Why aren't we hearing anything about why aren't we asking Russell Westbrook what happened? You know what I'm saying? Why Melo left? Why didn't he fit? Why didn't he do this? Paul George, why didn't he fit? Why is he the only one that left? You know what I'm saying? He's the only one that was a negative on the court last year, on both sides of the court, Coach. This guy was an anchor on. This guy was a ball and chain on the ankle, around the ankle. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, what are we doing here? This guy is a liability on offense, and he's a liability on defense. What is he going to do good for your team?
All right. Well, I'm going to throw this out for you because Daryl Morey. These guys are math. They're plugging in numbers here, right? And if you look at those forwards who started, starting forwards in the league last year, who took a minimum of three-point attempts per game, well, Melo ends up being he shot. Let me see, where is it? He shot 37.5% from three on catch and shoots, and he got 5 a game. So he was taking a lot of just catch and shoots, not ISOs, and just sort of in the flow. Ryan Anderson was just barely above him. He was 1, 2, 3, 4 spots.
But you said Ariza. Wasn't Ariza above him too, Coach?
And Ariza was only 7 spots. They were barely above him.
So that just tells you, because Ariza should be coming off the bench. You know what I'm saying? All year last year. That's what we thought. God bless him for getting $15 million, but he wasn't worth $15 million a year. Let's be real. Ariza declined. People don't remember this, but Kevin Durant put up 30 points per game on him in the playoffs. Okay, and the Rockets went 14-1 without him last year. You know what I'm saying? With games where he just took off a rest or whatever he did. Yeah. And the one game they lost, Coach, real quick, the one game they lost was versus the Kings when they had to rest him at the end of the year. So you know what I'm saying? So they rested Harden and Chris Paul that game. So what do we? How important a reason? If I wasn't a smart man, if I wasn't listening to all these media people talking about how Ariza was the greatest damn defender there was in the world last year. You know what I'm saying? I would think that Ariza was the third star on the Rockets. You know what I'm saying? Not a person in Houston believed Ariza was a great defender. A great defender don't allow Kevin Durant to average 30 points per game on him. And then people talking about how great he was. In them last 2 games, he shot 20% in that game 6 and game 7 in Golden State and Houston. You know what I'm saying? And then in the last game, he shot 0 for 12. So let's be real. How great was he? You know what I'm saying? Did he hurt the Rockets? Yes, he got. Hell yeah, he hurt the Rockets. You know what I'm saying? People talk about that 0 for 27 like everybody, like James Harden didn't get one taken away from him. You know what I'm saying? But with the foul. So I get really upset when I hear this stuff talking about, oh man, Ariza's the greatest thing, and then now that they lost him, they're gonna lose 10 games. If you want to tell me that Melo's on the team, and that's why you're gonna lose 10 games, I'm with you on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. So right. So there maybe there isn't the biggest drop because can Melo improve? 1.5% on his 3-point shooting on the catch and shoots. Like, yeah, maybe. That's certainly within the realm. That's probably what Morey is saying to himself. And maybe they're right. Maybe you're looking at the fact that Ariza. Now let's say this: Ariza was probably the only guy on the team that had the physical tools to guard Kevin Durant. And even though Durant hit some of those shots, he made him work. He made him a little bit more difficult. And certainly without him, who is going to guard Kevin Durant now, even if you don't have the guy that you thought wasn't that effective? Who is it going to be?
Why would it be James Ennis or Michael Carter Williams? They both had better defensive box plus minus against, what's his name, Ariza. And we're not talking about a couple points. We're talking about a full 1 or 2 points.
Well,
see what I'm saying?
I get James Ennis. I guess I'd like to see. There's sort of a lack of a resume there yet to see what he really could do. But
hey, Morey got a record of turning crap into gold. You know what I'm saying?
I guess.
So when anybody that comes over there always comes out looking like a shiny brand new car. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wouldn't be waiting on Michael Carter Williams for that, but we'll have
not Michael Carter Williams, but James Ennis.
Yeah, all right.
But
I mean, again,
let's be real about Michael Carter Williams last year with the Bulls. He was great he was good on defense last year, which was surprising.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, it shouldn't be that surprising. He's got a good length. He doesn't have the best core and strength, on that end in the base, but. Okay, I mean, I don't see him being particularly effective against KD, but again,
I'm just talking about replacements.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So here's the thing. One of the reasons, and by the way, the one caveat about looking at the top 10 defense by the Thunder with Melo playing so many minutes, if you just eliminate or measure it from the time that Robertson went down in January, so however many games that was at the end, from then on the end of the season, they ended up being 15th. Which is exactly average. So it wasn't as good as maybe we thought once Robertson went down because they were that good when he did play on the Thunder defensively. So, there's a lot of different numbers that are pointing to a lot of different things. However, if he's going to play alongside, let's just pretend he starts. Because do you really think that there's going to be a path here where they're not going to start Melo?
He can't start. He can't start, Coach. Last year, if the Thunder would have benched him and he would have went with that whole scenario, they would have won more games. You know what I'm saying? Because that bench was horrible over there in OKC. They needed bench points, so it would have worked. But you can't have that next to Russell Westbrook because they both can't shoot. So you got 3 players on your team: Robertson, Melo, and Russell Westbrook that can't shoot. So what are you going to do? People forget, but Russell Westbrook shot 29% from 3 last year. All right. And what's his name? Dennis Schroeder shot 29% from 3. So what are they? That's laughable to me when I see these things. I'm like, well, what GM is looking at this?
Right. Well, here's the thing about the Thunder, if we want to talk about them for a second, is that even amongst all that, I still feel like getting rid of Melo is a plus for them, and they might be the best suited to defend the Warriors. I think that they're going to surprise some people.
This is my top 3 teams right here, my friends. It's going to be Golden State next year, Houston, and then OKC's right up there third because they got rid of Melo. That was their biggest problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was taken away from a lot of possessions. It was just inefficient. It just like people look at, hustle is very key to defense. Coach, I don't know how much you teach on hustle, but hustle is very key to any kind of good defender because as long as you put in the hustle, you can always put your body in the right spot. You can always catch up to certain plays that you miss. You know what I'm saying? You can always get steals by hustle. So, when I see Melo last year, that man was not hustling at all. He wasn't helping on defense. He didn't even care to help on defense. That's how bad it was. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it means a lot for somebody to contest a shot because NBA players can make open shots with no problem. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't know, but these guys make 20 in a row down in the gym. You know what I'm saying? Sitting there with their trainers.
Oh, for sure. All that hard work they put in the gym tends to pay off when they get open for shots. And it's that same kind of payoff you'll get when looking for a job with ZipRecruiter, which reminds me of the first job I got out of college. I wanted to work on the movie Richie Rich that was filming in Chicago, so I wandered into the location manager's office. He had a stack of resumes at least 200 thick. I asked him if he was hiring. He took one look at the resumes, another look at me, then hired me on the spot. It was just as easy as using ZipRecruiter is now. It's the best place to connect growing businesses with qualified candidates by visiting ZipRecruiter.com/breakdown. ZipRecruiter sends your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards, but they don't stop there. They've got powerful matching technology, scanning thousands of resumes to identify just the right candidates so you never miss a match. Did you know 80% of employers find a quality candidate on the first day? With results like that, it's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the highest rated hiring site in America. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/breakdown. That's ziprecruiter.com/BREAKDOWN. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Well, it kind of does feel like him coming off the bench and Melo playing, the 25 or 26 minutes is probably the best version you're going to get of him. But it just doesn't sound like the politics involved that they're ever going to get Melo to accept that. I mean, I know he refused to accept that, obviously, in OKC, and they had him quoted as saying that, like, he was not going to come off the bench. So we'll have to see. Right now, they're kind of saying the right things in the press. Now, the other thing that people need to acknowledge is that the last time Carmelo and D'Antoni were together was a disaster in New York.
People about that. Mike D'Antoni, Melo gave the Knicks organization ultimatum: trade me or fire D'Antoni. And D'Antoni walked in the next day and quit. You know what I'm saying? Ice Cube going on these TV stations, these sports TV stations, talking about Mike D'Antoni. You think Mike D'Antoni ain't gonna have a vendetta from what happened last time? Everybody does. That's what he said. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe it, but you know what I'm saying? That's another factor to play in. Maybe he might just bench him on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Who knows what Mike D'Antoni might be thinking? But I'm telling you right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if. It doesn't sound to me. Remember, he's coached him on Team USA a little bit too, so they've not like they haven't ever talked since then. The one thing I thought was interesting was that his take on it, D'Antoni's take on it, was that the whole team was disrupted when they made that trade for Carmelo. And I want to do a video on that because I almost felt like what they were building before they traded for Melo was fun. It was winning. Like they were actually, that could have been a really good team. And I almost feel like that's more of what D'Antoni was lamenting when Melo came in and he ended up quitting versus like the actual him and D'Antoni and Melo's relationship. It kind of just felt like more like he was just kind of upset that they broke up a team that was really good. It could have been even better.
Yeah, Coach, when there's smoke, there's fire. Let's be real, man. He's been disruptive everywhere he's went. From Denver, George Karl made that big book about him. You know what I'm saying? He went to New York. They got in a big fight over there, him and Phil Jackson, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And other coaches that was over there, I forget who they were, but it was a whole Mike D'Antoni and a whole bunch of other ones. Then he goes to OKC. He's not a great fit over there. You know what I'm saying? So let's stop making excuses for somebody that's just being disruptive. Now, Chris Paul, this is what they betting on, Coach. They betting on him that Chris Paul and James Harden can make people better because that's what they do. They both make people better on their team. No matter who's on their team, they're going to look better than they was, without them. You know what I mean? With them. So, they're betting on Carmelo Anthony listening to his buddy Chris Paul and that everything's going to work out that way. But people don't understand. Carmelo Anthony don't change for nobody but himself. And he's not changing. Yeah,
no, I hear you. And it's going to be a big fear. And either he will change and it'll work out and he'll spot up and he'll hit threes at a better rate. Maybe he'll give out a little bit more on defense, but if not, when you have guys like Tucker and Capela alongside him, that will help. And CP3, they can cover for him a little bit. That's why I'm thinking they might have to start him because you're going to need those three guys playing alongside him to cover for him. So that might be a thing. And then, in reality, in the regular season, I could kind of see them still winning their 60-some games with him there. But then that's what's going to happen is I joked on Twitter today that the best thing for Melo was going to Houston so that they can't roast him anymore in the pick and roll like they were doing mercilessly last year when they played. So, but the only problem with that is what that blueprint that the Rockets laid out when they played the Thunder and not isolated, but they would run pick and roll with Melo's man. The Warriors just did it, and they were dismantling them as well. So that's going to be a problem. I'm not sure the Rockets have an answer besides, you're right, getting him out of the lineup more often.
Absolutely. And when you talk about that OKC team, Coach, Remember, they have 4 elite defenders: Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Steven Adams, and Roberson surround him. You know, you can have one bad defender like Isaiah Thomas had all them big defenders over there around him in Celtics. You can hide that ability. You know what I'm saying? You can put that. You know, there's ways around that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But when you got two bad defenders, now I'm not saying like James Harden's a bad defender, but when he gets on that perimeter and pick and roll after scoring all them points, he starts to get a little tired and a little weary, and he doesn't give that same hustle that he would before. You know, if he was doing it. But you know, you put a elite guard on like Steph Curry or somebody else, is gonna make him look silly. Just like if you put Steph Curry on James Harden gonna make him look silly. So you know, it's all about hiding that player. See, Golden State, they do a great job at that too with Steph Curry. They put around 4 great defenders around him and let it work. So you don't see the flaws.
Right. Well, hey, at the very least, to speak about your effort take, Steph Curry brings effort on the defensive end. He really does, and so that's always what I recognize in what he does. You can't deny that I mean, you saw what they were trying to do, and they would set screen and rolls with his man, trying to isolate him on LeBron. You saw him ride his man up higher and higher so they couldn't screen where they wanted to. I mean, it was effort. You know, whether or not you want to say it ultimately worked, he's giving it out on that end.
All right, Coach. Yeah. I just want to see if your boy was running. You know, we ain't never gonna agree on Steph Curry defense.
Oh, well, but wait, you can agree on that, though, can't you?
James Harden in Game 1 dropped 44 points on him specifically. You know what I'm saying? Because they switched him on every damn pick, but they saw it wouldn't work in the win game, so they had to change it up.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Listen, but you can't argue it's not from lack of hustle and effort.
No, not from effort, because he pushed the effort in. I mean, that's half the battle. Like I mean, you would know that as a coach.
Right. And by the way, and listen, when Harden's going like that, he's cooking anybody in the world. There is nobody's going to stop him. When he does those crazy step backs, people want to say
nobody going to stop Steph Curry either.
Yeah, it's like, you know, there isn't any, like Bill Russell wouldn't stop him on those. So it's like, I don't know what you're going to do. I'm just looking for, is he holding his ground? Is he trying to keep him from out of the lane? Is he getting a hand up? All those things. But
exactly.
You know, and by the way, that's all Melo would kind of need to do a little bit, not even like the whole game.
He doesn't.
Now, it sounds like, are you that optimistic about this year? Do you think that the Rockets are where they were last year, or do you think they're take a step down, or are they have any more of a chance to compete with the Warriors this year?
They do, but I mean, they got a chance to beat everybody in the league, but the Warriors. You know, it was only a 2-team race to me. You know what I'm saying, with the Golden State Warriors and Houston last year. I mean, we saw the finals in the Western Conference Finals last year.
Right.
So, you know, when you put an anchor on your team, you know what I'm saying, you can expect them not to. You expect a team like Golden State Warriors to exploit that Melo pick and roll all day, like you just confirmed. Because I saw that one time with Melo, they had him so frustrated he was yelling at Adams. So you know what I'm saying? So it would be a liability, just like putting Ryan Anderson out there on a defensive pick and roll. So I don't think Golden State. I don't think Houston would be able to beat Golden State in a 7-game series, even with Chris Paul and James Harden and Capela healthy.
Okay. I mean, because you're right. The big argument would have been if CP3 could have stayed healthy, they probably would have won. But the Warriors had their own injuries that they had to overcome, I think, with Iggy. But I think the bigger problem is if they're forced to play CP3, 38, 39 minutes a game, that's when he's going to break down. They got to figure out a way where they could get CP3 at his age, at his stage of his career, just enough rest where he's not going to blow a hamstring at the end of that series.
This is what Chris Paul likes to do that's going to get him hurt every time. Doesn't matter what's going on. But he likes to bump and grind with players. He's that old school type that'll get into your face and elbow you and do some kind of slick moves that you wouldn't see, that you can't see, but he knows what the hell he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Those kind of moves, eventually something like that's going to bump you, going to hit you, and then you're going to tear your hamstring for trying to do something more than you should be doing. Right. So, he's just got to learn that in certain plays you got to give up on. You can't do that. But he's a smart player. I'm not saying Chris Paul ain't smart. That's one of the smartest players in the NBA right now. That's what to me, he's a top 3 point guard, and that was before he was traded to the Rockets. Because he's just his assists per game, turnover ratio is just excellent. Yeah. And he just knows where to put the ball.
And with his moves, he does so much breaking where he's like full speed and then has to stop on a dime. That's all the hamstring straining he's doing. And eventually it could catch up to you. That's what happens. So I don't think that they're that far behind. I think that they're probably kind of right there. But I got to see it to believe it a little bit. I need to see the 10, 15 games of Melo to get a handle on what's going to happen, because if it's anywhere near what they can get from like Ariza, then yeah, in the regular season they should win a ton of games and they should be right there. But yes, it just I hear there's just something, a bit of a cloud that's kind of hanging over them right now. It's hard to envision them being any better. Now, here's the only thing they got going for them. The Warriors, they're on their fourth, they're going to be going for their fifth straight finals appearance. And that's just like, it's so rare for that to happen that, odds are something's going to happen with them that they're not going to be able to make it. And if that's the case, then the Rockets would have to be the next choice to make it by that, by the numbers.
Yeah, I agree on that point. But that would be only a win by default. That's like saying second place is first place to me. You know what I'm saying? We can all say that, the Golden State Warriors, when Kevin Durant went to the Golden State Warriors, it made the league unfair whether people want to hear that or not. You know what I'm saying? Because they got 3 or 4 or 5 All-Stars now, and I don't know if I included Boogie, but he's damn as good. But it's still they, you put those 3 or 4 players out there. It's like putting out there in the Olympics. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're putting out an Olympic team out there. So it's somebody just trying to take the crown from Golden State. It's really them right now, but Houston was better than them last year. Never mistake that. I don't care what anybody tell you. Luke Moute was the Rockets' best perimeter defender last year. You know what I'm saying? And he was hurt too. His shoulder, he dislocated his shoulder. He couldn't shoot the 3. He couldn't do anything, but he was out there. You know what I'm saying? But he was a disappointment in the playoffs. So, but that's because he was hurt. But don't let nobody tell you that Iggy wasn't, Luke Moute wasn't just important as Iggy, because he was to us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't want to hear that injury stuff. Chris Paul had them was shimmying in Curry's face 3-2. You know what I'm saying? So let's be real on that. That's before he got hurt, and all them 3-pointers and all that ref stuff that happened during them Game 6 and Game 7. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, hey, by the way, that might be the basketball gods punishing him for doing the shimmy in Steph's face a little too early. And that's what happens. You got to finish that out and not be. You can't celebrate until you got him until you finish the series. So we shall see what's going on. But it was great to be able to check in with you and get a finger on the pulse of what the Rockets people are feeling about this season. Yay or nay. And it's always fun to catch up with you, Curtlow.
Absolutely, Coach. I appreciate everything you do for me.
Hey, you got it. And if you want to follow him, you certainly you can do that on Twitter at SWHTown30 is Curtlow's stuff. And plus, just turn on Sirius XM whenever Termini and Eddie Johnson are on their show in the afternoons. And you'll it's every day when you call in, right?
Yeah, I try to call in my friends Eddie Johnson and Tremaine. I call him Tremaine, you know what I'm saying? That's a better name for him. I know Justin Termini, but you know what I'm saying? But those are real good friends of mine. They even call me sometimes to call into the show. So, it's all love between me and them.
Yeah, absolutely. And always very entertaining. So, Curtlow, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, not a channel, we're a conversation. You win. Are you in, Curtlow?
Absolutely.